Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all my blessed beloveds out there in living and thriving land. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rustie, and well, I'm Rustie. We are preparing for a little bit of tropical weather here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. The wind is blowing quite aggressively right now, so if you hear anything banging, that's what it is, it's the wind. I love living down here. There's just perpetual sunniness, rainbows, manatees, dolphins, and I have my own Jurassic Park in the backyard with a hissing turtle. So it's always an adventure here in living and thriving. I've also been privileged enough to travel around the world, meeting people from all walks of life, learning and discovering what they're doing for their own personal achievements, as well as what they're doing during a pandemic to keep their head above all the fear-based information that we see and hear. So turn off your TV. Promise you will feel so much better in about a week. Social media diet, very important. And figure out what it is that makes you passionate. This is a great time to reinvent yourself, dig down deep and figure out and reprioritize your life. We're far stronger than we lead ourselves to believe, and we are far more powerful than we lead ourselves to believe. We can pretty much accomplish anything that we want. So if you've always had a passion, this is the time to do it. This is the time to get up, get a routine, get dressed, and focus on your desires. I'm super excited about my virtual road trip. It's been really amazing. It's humbled and overwhelmed with the amount of good that's out there in the world. It's just so beautiful. And you get to be a part of that. So thank you for sharing the show. Thank you for participating. And thank you for your comments and your letters. As you know, you can always send me letters, comments, and donations anytime. If you go to rustie.info, you'll see my address and you can send that information. Some of the takeaways we have is, be of service to others, because it's not only good for your community, good for the environment, but good for your soul to participate and feel like you're doing good for somebody else who's in need. Count your blessings, gratitude, those are all very important aspects as well. I will be teaching at the end of the month at Your Own University. It's a free class, so go on to rustie.info, sign up for the class. It's a mastermind, half an hour. I'm going to take your big dream and help you make it attainable. Sometimes we get really overwhelmed. Oh, squirrel, like that. Today, I have a special guest, and I'm hoping that I pronounced the name right, Chante Dent. I might be saying it wrong, but she is going to be joining us in 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Are you there? Hi, beautiful. You can't hear me? Unmute me.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I can hear you.
You are stunning.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh my God.
The fun part about this whole adventure, Chante, is the fact that you have to go with the flow. There's no choice. You can't control any of the technology. You can't control the weather. It's like you really have to get good with the fact that life happens. And
Yep.
how more authentic can you be than that, right?
You have to roll with it, right? You do. And I guess even better, most people are, they understand that, so no judgment, right? Where they don't wonder, what is that person doing? They don't know what, they have no idea.
It was really entertaining when I first started doing this.
Okay.
Because there was this mindset of perfection and perfect lighting, and my window is actually closed, but I live in Florida, so I still look like Casper's cousin, but that's all right, I don't care. It just is. But there was a lot of criticism in the beginning in regards to not editing and having live recordings, and what I wanted was something that was authentic and real, because we have a whole world that we left where people, newscasters and celebrities and blah blah blah, showed us this mask. Right now we're in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm fortunate to be able to go everywhere in the world and meet people on an authentic level. And I'm like the spiritual
Yeah.
micro.
Mm.
So it's been fun. It's been fun to go through this journey. Anyway, Chante, tell us who you are, what you do, and what inspires you to be you.
Well, I am Chente Dent. I am a woman who has, I always say I've been through some things, but I am in a space right now where I'm taking it one day at a time as I am a mom and a wife, truly in a season of just making myself available to help people. I always say, you know, when I reflect on where I've been and my difficult stages and the desperation to wanting to be free, that's a feeling that will remain with me. And that's the fuel in terms of you know, why I do what I do. I enjoy everything outdoors. My gosh, I'm a nature born chick. I'm from California. I live in Georgia now, but I'm a Cali girl, so I love being outdoors. I love the water. I love beaches. I just love being outdoors.
So what is it that you fuel within yourself outside of just moving forward in life? Have you written books? Do you
Absolutely.
teach?
Yeah. So the heart of what I do and my outlet in terms of reaching other people, it initially started with a nonprofit organization, Earnest Love. And our baby stages, we met at libraries and community centers. It was just come if you want to talk, if you need to heal, I'm available. Let's talk. And that transitioning grew to classes, and I'm now teaching online. Believe it or not, I started this online courses prior to the major shutdown, right? But I obviously it worked out well, and I'm during round 2 right now. I'm teaching online courses, just helping women heal from emotional trauma. And I've written a book. It's titled My Lemonade Recipe: Turning Life's Sour Experiences into Something Sweet. And that is literally what has happened. That's what I'm walking out right now. And I had some sour lemons, didn't like what they looked like or taste like or felt like. And I knew I had to make some major decisions in order to heal from a few wounding experiences if I truly wanted to enjoy life.
And I think it's very empowering when you get good with yourself. You know, it's interesting, especially at this time period where there's so much unknown and so much fear that people get concerned, and some of that old wound stuff comes up and they don't realize that they're dealing with the grief part of history. They are in a place where it's just kind of bubbling.
Yeah.
And I think your class and your book and people who are in the same world are really valuable at this time because you give us a little bit of hope and inspiration. Do you want to share a little bit of your personal story, your sour lemonade, and tell us how you sweetened it?
The sour stuff, yeah. So I have, I always think like the struggle with insecurity and low self-esteem, like when I remember, I feel like it's always been there. Like, was it there from day one? Like when I, you know, came into this world from my mother's womb, you know, that's what it feels like, because I remember from a young age of being in unfortunate experiences where I did have violations, where there was a sexual violation, and the clear memories were, you know, with one person at one time, and I don't remember that ever happening again, and then another person where it happened time after time after time. And that was like the first batch, if one could say, the first batch of sour lemons. And as a child, I remember the threats of you better not say anything. So I kept those incidents in my heart, in my mind, tried my best to bury them. That they were my secrets, you know, the secrets of me and of myself and the offenders. And it was then again that I just remember having seasons of feeling so inadequate and insecure, but not able to connect the dots. As a child, I just knew things were off. And then I'll quickly speed up to adulthood, where I experienced rape. And this was, if we study, rape, where there are different types of rape. There's stranger rape, where you're out and about, or someone, a break-in, and, you don't know this person, there's no connection or affiliation. And then there's, sadly, spousal rape. Some people may or may not want to believe that, but it happens. And then there's acquaintance rape, where there is a history with the individual. And that's what I experienced, acquaintance rape. And this experience was so traumatic that I literally tried to fix it. And when I say fix it, the history I had with this individual, there was a season where there was sexual intimacy. And I knew that I had to make a decision to sever that tie. Everybody has their own beliefs. And for me, I believed I'm a Christian, and this is one of those areas that we agree, in terms of our beliefs, that you don't engage in sexual intimacy until you get married. And that was an area that I had fallen in. So I knew to sever that tie with this individual. Long story short, got to get the book for all the other details, but this person and I connected, and it was a healthy situation that turned unhealthy very quickly. And I found myself in a struggle, and literally trying to fight someone off of me who I knew, who I trusted. And I felt that at the end of the day, if I allow this person to have his way, and I can walk away feeling like this was as normal as anything else I've ever experienced. And gosh, talk about sour turning into something sweet. The outcome of that sexually traumatic experience was a pregnancy. And that pregnancy was revealed about a month later. Women, we know, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for most of us before we start feeling the symptoms. And that was a hard blow, because as with childhood sexual trauma, I wanted to avoid my adulthood sexual trauma. I wanted to ignore it, act like it never happened, and keep on keeping on. But when I discovered I was pregnant, I had to literally talk about everything, and here's the thing. Actually, when I step back and hear my own story, I didn't really have to talk about it. If you really think about it, I actually could have continued to bury it. I could have, oh, it's nothing. I'm pregnant because of this. I could have continued to bury it, but I didn't. I knew that I had to talk about what I was going through or what had taken place. And that's where things took a toll on me, because you know how it is it's one thing to experience trauma and cope by neglecting and denying. And then when you experience trauma and choose to process it, even in that, as healthy as it is to do that, clearly it's something I encourage everyone to do, it's still difficult to face the reality.
What is even more challenging, especially with women like you, who, girl, you got the strength in you, is you have to not only relive that pain, because I too relate very clearly, but you have a child, and so that coping is very, I mean, that's God really gave you a big 2x4, girl, a big one.
It was a lot of strength that I had to conjure up. And I know I didn't do it on my own. It was, yes, the strength of God. It was my family, my friends praying with me, praying for me, encouraging me. It was therapy, counseling. So I didn't do it on my own, but it definitely did take a lot of strength. And you're absolutely right, because on one hand, I knew I had to heal emotionally. And then I knew I had to figure out how to handle being pregnant from this traumatic situation. It was not easy. I will never say that it was easy. Never.
Were you able to press charges against him, or was it just let go?
Yeah.
Like so many women, like in my story, it's just.
Yeah. Initially, I did not want to. The way the rape came out was when I called a nurse, because I was feeling those symptoms, and nurses are mandated reporters. So when she asked that golden question, what was the last time you were sexually intimate? It took me back to that day of being sexually violated. And so that opened up the door to the police coming to my home immediately. And, you know, they're taking down the report. And again, when all of that floods at one time, they're taking the report. I'm saying what I feel comfortable saying. I'm saying whatever I could remember in that moment. Oh my gosh. And even to the point of having to drive in a police car, you know, and point out the area. So there was, again, just re-traumatized. And so they were like, well, do you want to press charges? And I'm like, after all of this, no, I just want to heal. I just want to get through this pain. But I was informed shortly after of a similar situation with another young girl. And as one could imagine, that stirred up a lot of anger. So I did make a call to my detective, and I said, I do, you know, I want to press charges. I do want to move forward with this. I hope this is not a hobby of his, you know, and we need to just shed light on it. That was an interesting process in and of itself.
Well, and I
My
think,
goodness.
and I just want to pause because women who have gone through this have that same instinct, which is, okay, I'm done. I just want to heal. I don't want any part of the drama. I don't want the court. I don't want the slander. I don't want, you know, just it happened, and you deal with the guilt and the shame and all the things that come up. And then all of a sudden you find out somebody else is going through it. And that puts even more pressure on that wound, because you're trying so hard to turn it into a diamond, right? You're just trying to encompass all of that and script it and make it pretty so that it goes away. But then when you come to the realization that he's possibly a perpetrator, oh man, how did you get through that?
That was a tough situation, because I try to be as realistic as possible. I think I've been this way since I was a young girl, just very realistic about the reality of what's going on around me. And I knew, just sadly, but based off of what we see in news, in the media, in movies, I was very aware of what my situation looked like. I'm pregnant, and now I'm saying I'm raped. I mean, that was just a given. And it hurt my heart because I knew that was going to be out there, hanging in the atmosphere. But it's something about when you know that you know that you know, and you're not playing games, you know, you just miss those thoughts quickly. And I did. But what I realized talking to my detective when it came to reporting and evidence and things of that nature, the one thing I had going for me was for him to incriminate himself. So basically going to the police station, asking police appointed questions for this detective to gather enough information. She told me what questions to ask, and then she gives me the hand signal, like, okay, we have what we need. He's guilty, I can tell, and et cetera, et cetera. And I thought, okay, you know, that's all I have going for me. And so we placed that phone call, and it was a difficult phone call to make. But again, she was there coaching me through everything. And he, in an interesting way, acknowledged what he did. And I say interesting because, you know, his description in terms, yes, we had a fight. I don't know what came over me, things like that. So in a roundabout way, admitting to what he did. And then he concluded with, I didn't mean to hurt you. Those words, I mean, worked in his favor as months went by in order to, you know, allow him to have his interview. At the end of the day, my story, his story, I'm told, we believe you, they line up, but we can't take this case to court. And on one hand, I definitely commend the DA for her explanation, but it hurt my heart because it's the world we live in. Your story, you know, your storyline, and I got more information years later, but his storyline, your storyline, he's so sorry and apologetic. You're basically this young girl, now you're pregnant. It's just going to be hard to take this kind of case into court. And I remember feeling very abandoned after hearing that information, because again, I felt like I did the only thing I knew to do was to place this phone call for him to incriminate himself. I wouldn't place a phone call if this didn't really happen. But I learned years later through a follow-up call with the detective, just because I needed my own insight and understanding of what was that really all about. You know, I know what he did, and, you know, he knows what he did. What's the next step? But this detective explained to me, again, some years later, the difficulty in terms of what's submissible, like in the court of law. She explained the difficulty in their job as detectives when they know, you know, what occurred, yet whether it's a lack of evidence or just simple decisions, right? Decision makings by various DAs. Do we want to proceed with this case or do we not? Are we going to win this case or are we not? So there was a lot of that that took place with my particular case. And again, it did leave me hurt and wounded. I do say that what I appreciated so much about the county and just the court system overall is because I did participate and assist and just, you know, go through that whole process in terms of cooperation, even though there was no case that moved on to the court system, I was still able to receive support through the Victim Witness Compensation Program. And that gave me a lot of, I guess, reassurance in our court system where, okay, if they have their rules and regulations, no gray areas, it is what it is. I don't have it in me to fight that. It was suggested that I remember that one of the detectives said, well, you know, you can always file a civil suit. And I thought, really? I'm not doing that. You know, I did this, I did that. And now, and yeah, then I really got to that point. I just need to move on and heal.
So did the other woman come out and also file, or?
You know, that's a great area. I never met this girl. I was told from a third party about her. And to this day, I don't know who she is. And what the detective did tell me is her story, yes, some legitimacy there, but it wouldn't fully support your story. So again, I don't even know all the details of what she went through. Whatever she confided in, the person who told me, which is actually my brother, you know, I don't know exactly what she told the police officers. And even when I reflect back to those years and that time of my life, I remember I just felt pulled and torn in so many areas. Like, today, am I going to focus on the case, or am I going to focus that I am so sick carrying this child, but my body, like physically, I'm small by nature. I was even smaller during pregnancy. Like, every day I was physically sick and on medication and IVs, and it was a difficult pregnancy. So there were so many twists and turns at that time that I literally had to just figure out, what am I going to focus on today? You know?
Well, and it's amazing. It's amazing how much you had to prioritize your life and still try to stay strong, because pregnancy is not easy. And people who say that it is, I have no idea who your ancestry is, but it takes a lot out of you. I mean, you're really raising and growing a new life on top of the stressors that you were going through. So high five to you, woman, for coming out and taking that as a warrior goddess. I mean, that's what you are. You're a warrior goddess. Welcome to the club, I guess.
Thank you.
Chante, tell us where, because we're actually running out of time. It goes by so fast. Tell us where we can find more information about you, and if anybody wants to, you know, have this conversation on a one-on-one basis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Real simple. My first and last name, Chante Dent, ChanteDent, ChanteDent.com. It's my personal website. And the organization I mentioned earlier, again, that's Earnest Love, EARNESTLOVE.org. That's a nonprofit, and you can find the contact information for the book, which is available on Amazon. But everything you need in order to touch bases with me and learn more about what I do, you can find it there. For you social media fanatics, at Chante Dent is my handle for Instagram and Facebook.
You are a beautiful woman, and I'm just so impressed with how you were able to, you know, get through this, because the laws don't equate the period in which a woman has to heal.
Yeah.
And there's almost a negligence, I think, to even understanding or hearing, and it's a very old-fashioned
Yeah.
disease
Mhm.
that still filtrates through us. And
Yeah.
so I, I always have this heartache when
Mhm.
people feel like it's not worth coming forward, because all it does is pick the scab, pick the scab, pick the scab, pick the scab.
Yeah.
Or, you know, the person's wealthy and they're going to be able to, you know, get away with it, or. And so there's all these limitations that we hear and see.
Mhm.
But even though you knew that, you still
Mhm.
tried, and it's on record somewhere. So if he does
Mhm.
do it again, God
Absolutely.
forbid,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Mhm.
there's a history there.
Yeah.
So, you know, thank you
Yep.
for all your hard work from one woman to another.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome. And that's exactly why I do what I do, because if, you know, whether the outcome is favorable or not within the court system, the first thing that I always think about is there is a wounded soul there, and that wound needs to be healed. How can I help? Like, to me, that's always on the forefront of my mind.
Now, did you have
Again,
a son or a daughter?
a little girl, that is a part of the story in the book. It was a little girl and she was adopted. That's a whole nother story. Open adoption, to this day, it is definitely more of a blessing than I ever thought. Yeah.
Now, and you have children through your marriage?
Yes, we have a son and a daughter. Our daughter is 8 and our son is 10.
Yay, that's a fun age. Mine's turning 15 in a couple of weeks, and
Woo!
she's smart though. I mean, she's going to college in August, so I can't say
Lovely.
too
Congrats.
much. But
Oh, wonderful.
so, what is it like as a mom with a daughter and a son? I
Yeah.
mean, there's that,
Yeah.
and then we'll go back to your website, and then we have to wrap up. But
Okay.
as a mom, I am a hawk. You know, coming from that
Yeah.
history, coming
Yeah.
from that, you can't trust anybody. My physician here in Florida was just arrested last week for molesting his patients.
Oh,
So
that breaks my heart. Mm.
I just,
Yep,
and it's that real. So as a
absolutely.
mom, whoo, the
Yep,
mama bear comes out of me.
Mama Bear indeed. I definitely had to intentionally tell myself that I would not be fearful. But what I do, and I've been doing this for years, is I talk to my children very openly about everything in terms of any type of inappropriate touch or experience. Now that they're older, they do know my story, so we talk in more detail about that. And again, in our home, we don't keep the secrets. We just talk about everything, in terms of what could happen and who it could be. And people may not like to say it, but you have to say it. If it's grandma or grandpa, auntie or uncle, and in the way my family is, I'm like, I know good well they wouldn't do anything like that. But these are the kind of conversations you still have to have. So your kids know that there's nothing off limits, and even if they say you'll get in trouble, you're not going to get in trouble. So I share my story with my children to make it definitely more realistic in terms of how it can happen, and it does happen. And I let them know why it is important for them to share if something does occur. And I always have check-ins often. Yes, indeed.
That's the way to be a good mama, especially in this
Mhm.
time period when you can't even
Yeah.
really trust your own physician.
Mm,
Testify.
sadly, so sad.
It
My
was,
God.
my jaw went.
I bet.
Um, so the title of your book and your website again, because I think you're just a treat and you're a blessing to this world. Thank you, thank
Mm.
you, thank you.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. The book is My Lemonade Recipe, Turning Life's Sour Experiences into Something Sweet. And you can connect with me at Chante Dent, ChanteDent, ChanteDent.com. And I look forward to continuing to be an inspiration to anyone that I can. Thank you again for this opportunity. Bye.
Bye. You're watching Living and Thriving with Rustie, and I love my job. I don't get paid for it, but I love it. And it's not really a job. It's kind of cool traveling around the world on this big rock, going into infinity and meeting beautiful people with real stories, real strength, real power, and an infectious way of living life. even after the storm. That's what this is all about. It's what you feed your mind, your body, your soul, and how you take your experience and make it better for other people, because it's all about service. Remember, vacation time's over, my COVID-19 people. Brush your teeth, brush your hair, get dressed, get up, get going, get doing. Netflix and chill, turn it off. Social media, turn it off. Get busy making your soul on fire, because this is a great time to reinvent yourself, to love yourself, to take care of yourself, and be of service to others. I cannot stress that enough. And I know you're rolling your eyes at me, but it's true. I love you. You're beautiful. Be kind to you. And until next time.